Good evening and welcome to today's webinar, Three Massive Money Mistakes and How to Manage Them, with our guest speaker, Frank Wiginton. Thank you very much for your time this evening, and I will pass it over to you, Frank. Go ahead.
Great, thank you very much. Let's click through to the three massive money management mistakes and how to reverse them. Frank truths we all need to hear. I want to start off by congratulating all of you that have joined us, and for any of you that are watching this on the replay to start with, because it takes a little bit of effort, and it takes a little bit of desire to want to learn about finances, want to make a change and make a difference. So congratulations to you for doing that. A little bit about me. My name is Frank Wiginton. I'm a financial wellness expert. I'm the author of the book, How to Eat an Elephant, Achieving Financial Success One Bite at a Time. I've been providing financial education and advice for the last 20 years, and I've been delivering employee financial education since about 2007, going into companies and organizations and teaching the employees about their pensions and retirement and their personal finances. I have 4 designations in personal finance, including the Certified Financial Planners designation, and then I've got 2 fellowships, the Fellow of the Canadian Securities Institute and the Fellow of the Financial Planner Standards Council. So that's kind of my background. So if you do have any personal finance questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you're watching this on replay, if you have some personal finance questions, at the end will be you can send me an email or let me know just send me a note either through Twitter or through LinkedIn if you want to get connected, and I'm happy to answer your personal finance questions. Again, we mentioned earlier, I don't manage money or sell any products, so I don't have an agenda or a bias towards any, certain outcomes. I'm just here to help educate and help people with their finances. So as I started earlier at the very beginning, and congratulating you for watching this, and a big part of the reason why people with money are successful with money and other people with money aren't successful with their money, it really comes down to our brains. It has nothing to, well, it doesn't have anything to do, but it's not really related to how much money you make and how much money you earn. Why is it that some people can be earning $35,000 a year and be happy with their life, and some people are earning $350,000 a year and are miserable with their life and their finances are a mess? Why is that? It comes down to our behavior, okay? Our habits, our behavior, our psychology, and our relationship with money. So it really does come down to the gray matter in our head as to what ends up happening and the outcome that we achieve when it comes to our money. So I want to take you through the 3 massive mistakes people have. And mistake number 3 is always making excuses. I hear this time and time again. Maybe you've used some of these excuses, things like, I've never really been good with money, right? My partner was always the one who dealt with the money, or nobody ever taught me about money. It's not my fault. I just never learned, right? I'm so busy. I just don't have time to deal with it. Or, everything is just so expensive. I just can't afford it. I can't afford to do something more with my money. And, kind of this last one here is, I'll do it, once I get a raise or make more money. Has anybody here ever felt that way? Have you ever felt that, come up with one of those excuses? Have you ever sat there and said, I've just got to put it off. I'm just going to deal with it another time. I'm not very good with money. I'm not good with numbers. I'm not comfortable with it. Well, the big thing here is if you want to get away from this, if you want to get away from making excuses and actually take control and start achieving greater results with your finances and having a better financial life, we need to personally accept responsibility for our financial outcomes. Okay? We need to start personally accepting that responsibility for our financial well-being. This is one of the big things that we need to do. We need to say, you know what? I may not be good with money. Somebody may never have taught me about money, but you know what? I can do something about that. I'm going to start taking charge. I'm going to put my foot down and start making a difference. I'm going to empower myself. I'm going to be the one who makes the difference in my own life. And that's one of the biggest things that we need to start doing. And this is one of the things that once you start accepting that responsibility, you can start moving ahead. You can start taking actions. You can start doing all those things you've always wanted to do. Okay. The number 2, you see how I'm going this 3, 2, 1. right? So the number 2 one is using money as a resource and not as a tool. All right. So a lot of people ask me, well, what does that really mean? Well, using money as a resource is kind of like, you know, just paying bills. You got to get groceries, right? You got to pay rent. You've got to make sure that you're making your car payments, this sort of thing. And people don't think of their money as this tool that they can use to build and create a future that they want. And they spend all their time focusing on money as a resource and just paying bills and just getting to the end of the month, that they're not thinking and putting their mindset in the space of, let's go out and achieve something bigger, something greater with it. Okay. Here's one of the biggest culprits that uses money as a resource, not as a tool. Okay. Here's Johnny Depp. This is somebody who makes hundreds of millions of dollars who goes broke. It costs millions of dollars a month to be Johnny Depp, but he's using money as a resource. It's a way to party and to have a big life and to, have lavish things and have a great big lavish lifestyle and have a lot of friends to spend money on and that kind of a thing. But he's using it as a resource, not as a tool. If he took a big chunk of that money and took it and started to invest it in, businesses, in, just stocks and that kind of stuff, or invested in real estate or something like that, he wouldn't be going broke. Okay. So, this is one of the things. You want to be using it as a tool. Right? Let's go through a quick little exercise to talk a little bit about using it as a resource to help you identify and see how this works. Okay. So this is a little daily spending exercise. So just play along with me here. So, you wake up in the morning, you get yourself ready to go off to work, and you grab yourself a coffee and maybe a muffin and a sandwich or something. And how much does that cost? About $6 maybe? Something like that, right? You go to Tim Hortons, you get yourself a coffee and a sandwich. You go to Starbucks, you get a coffee and a sandwich. Maybe it's a little more than $6. Okay, but you spent about $6 to do that. Now, about 10 a.m. and 10:30, coffee starts to wear off. You go out, get yourself another cup of coffee. How much does that cost? That's about $2, right? You go out, you get yourself a not so healthy lunch. Not so healthy lunch these days is probably going to run you about $10. Right? And then you've been drinking coffee all morning. And so what happens around 3 o'clock? Does anybody ever experience this where all of a sudden they're starting to do this? Their head starts to droop. You're working away, you're typing away, and then all of a sudden, and it's all K's going across the screen. Yeah, that's called caffeine crash, right? So what do you do around 3 p.m.? You go get yourself a snack, you get yourself up, you get yourself moving, maybe get yourself another cup of coffee. That's going to run you another $2. What's something you really should do? You should go for a brisk walk, get your heart rate up, right? Now, if you can't go out for a brisk walk, here's a little tip. Just stand up, take a step to one side, and do 10 squats. If you've never done squats, that's going to get your heart rate up a lot. If you do squats all day long, then maybe you need to do a few more than 10, but just do 10 squats. And that's going to be enough to get your heart rate up, to get the blood flowing, to get the energy going, and it'll pick you up for probably another, 60 to 90 minutes following that, which should be enough to get you through the caffeine crash you've just experienced. Okay. Now you get home and, you race home and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do for dinner, and you rip open the fridge and you pull open the bottom drawer and you grab that bag of lettuce, and it's gooey and yucky. And so you throw it away. Right. And then what you do is you reach to the back of the fridge and you grab those leftovers and you open up those leftovers and they practically jump out at you. Right. So what do you figure you throw away in leftovers, let's say in a week? Maybe about $20 worth of leftovers in a week. Right. So if we took 20 divided by 5-day work week, that's about $4 a day. Okay. So when we narrow it down, the reason why I throw leftovers in there is because leftovers can be made into great lunches. If you do a little bit of planning with your, meal planning and this type of thing, make a little bit of extra food at dinner time, it becomes the leftovers for your lunches, that kind of thing. So it's a great way to cut back on both those areas. But taking a look here, what have we got here? We've got a daily total of about $24. Okay. So if we multiplied that by 5 days in the work week, that's about $120. Okay. If we map that out over maybe 50 work weeks, you take a couple of weeks vacation, right? And we're looking at about $6,000. $6,000 that you're spending on what? These are considered resources. These are, luxuries. These are things that you don't have to spend money on. This is just the getting by stuff, right? This is the pocket money, those types of expenses, right? So, okay, but how realistic is it? You're never going to buy a coffee. You're never going to buy a lunch. You're never going to be throwing out food, that sort of thing. Not very realistic. But what if you could just cut it in half? If you had an extra $3,000, what would you do with it? Think about that. Let me ask you this question. If I was to walk up to you right now and hand you $10,000, what would you do with it? What would you do with that money? How you answer that question determines your financial priority. Okay? Let me just repeat that. If someone was to walk up to you right now and hand you $10,000 cash, what would you do with it? How you answer the question determines your financial priority. Did you think, oh, I'd pay off my credit cards? Oh, I'd take a vacation. Oh, I'd pay down the mortgage. Oh, I'd save for my kids' education. Oh, I'd put it away for retirement. However you answered that question determines what your financial priority is. And that's a big part of what we need to do, is figure out what are our financial priorities. How can we use our money as a tool to achieve those financial priorities? All right. So let's take a look. So using money as a resource, not as a tool, we need to find a way to be purposeful with our money. Okay? What are you aiming at? What are you trying to hit? What are you trying to achieve? What do you truly care about in this world? Okay? Remember this saying, if you don't have a plan for your money, someone else does. All right? You're the one who gets to make this decision as to where you want that money to go. I love the Dr. Seuss rhyme. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. Well, it's the same goes when it comes to your money. You've got brains in your head, you can choose where you want that money to go, what you want to do with that money. Okay? Don't let someone else define your goals for you, though. Okay? Just because the person down the road is driving the latest Lexus or the latest, I guess Tesla now is the latest car to have in your driveway, right? Doesn't mean that you have to. That's their financial priority, not yours. Okay? So this is where I want you to start distancing yourself from other people, comparing yourself with other people. Start living the dreams and the goals and achieving those things that you want to achieve, rather than letting somebody else define it. So we need to stop keeping up with the Joneses, because frankly, they're broke. The Joneses are double mortgaged with lines of credit maxed out, and sure, they're driving fancy cars and have all the latest toys and gadgets, but they're drowning in debt. And we see that in the financial numbers that come out all the time. Are you ready for the number one massive money management mistake? Are you ready for it? Giving up too easily. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to managing their money. It starts to get a little bit hard, it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable, and they just give up. Okay? They just walk away. This is the number one reason why budgets fail. Anybody here ever tried to keep a budget? Yeah. Anybody here managed to keep a budget? Doesn't look like too many, right? So this is one of the big things that I want you to be paying attention to, and I want you to be thinking about, is stop giving up so easily. The number one reason why budgets fail is because people say, okay, I need to have this much money for this, and this much money for this, and this much money for this, and this much money for this. Okay, I've got all my money accounted for. And then all of a sudden, this one-time expense comes along, right? And all of a sudden you're sitting there going, wait, where am I going to get the money for this? Oh, well, if I take it from here, well, then I don't have money for there. And where's it going to come from? And all of a sudden now, poof, the budget's destroyed. And the budget doesn't work. And people go, I give up. It doesn't work. And they walk away. All right. Anytime we're getting into some tough financial decisions, or there's a complex financial thing that's kind of difficult to understand, and this type of thing, people go, they come up with, Mistake number 3, and they start using excuses. Oh, I'm not good at this. I don't understand money. I can't figure this out. This isn't for me. And they walk away and they give up too easily. Okay. The big thing here is that we all don't have a fairy godmother to come along and just go bippity boppity boo and make it work. We need to recognize that some of this takes some time to figure this stuff out, to go on, to find the right people to help us, to learn about a new concept, to make an effort to figure out how to properly manage our money and how to deal with those one-time expenses, and how we're going to figure this out. It doesn't happen overnight. It does take time. The other thing I see is that people want things to happen instantaneously. You're looking for that fairy godmother to wave her magic wand and just to, all of a sudden be, your first job or earning 6 figures, or all of a sudden, being able to afford that dream house that you just found, or whatever it is. And we just feel we should have these things. We deserve to have these things. Maybe we do, but we still have to work for them. And this is one of the things that I've seen with many couples is that, not just couples, but with many people and individuals, is that when we're young, we don't have much, but we've got a lot of desire and we've got a lot of, energy, and we want to move forward. And so we work at that. But we're sitting there feeling like we're always under something's holding us down. We can't get ahead, and it's really difficult and really hard, and we're not making much money. And, how are we ever going to afford a house or be able to buy a car or, do these things? I can barely make rent, and, these types of excuses. And it's like, well, recognize that, you're at that stage of life where it is hard. And, when you move on to life, further on in life, you're going to make hopefully a bit more money, and you're going to be doing a little bit better. Okay. But we give up too easily, and we need to recognize that, it may take 10 years to accomplish that goal. But if it's a goal of something you want right now, how frustrating is it that you can't have it right now in this day and age, right? We instantly have everything. So many times I see people who live paycheck to paycheck, grinding away, never getting ahead, never really getting ahead, but they are doing some things. Maybe they're putting a little bit of money into a pension. Maybe they're putting a few dollars into an RSP, right? And then they get on later on in life, and, they finally get past those big expense periods of their life, right? And they finally get into that higher paying job a little bit further down the line. And they finally get to the point where they end up with a few extra dollars beyond the end of the month. And all of a sudden now they start being able to do some more of those things that they've always wanted to do. Many times I've seen people move into retirement and they realize, wow, I've got a lot more money than I thought I did. And it's because of their behavior with money. They've always been cautious about not overspending, not doing too much. And all of a sudden now they're in a better situation. Okay. So giving up too easily is one of the biggest mistakes people make. And they need to recognize, they need to take a step back, recognize that it's going to take some time to figure things out, to take the steps necessary to accomplish the things they need to accomplish to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. But we need to start by sitting there and recognizing that we need to take responsibility for our finances. Then we need to figure out, well, what do we want to truly achieve with our finances? I want to stop using my money as a resource and start using it as a tool to now start accomplishing those goals and those things that I truly want to accomplish. And then when it starts to get difficult as I'm working towards accomplishing those goals, you need to recognize that it's going to take some time and not give up so easily. So as we go through those psychological barriers, if we can master and overcome those psychological barriers, we have a much greater chance at accomplishing our goals and our finances, becoming more financially successful. What do you think he's whispering in her ear? Maybe just in the chat box you can put in. Now keep it clean. All right. But what do you think the number one secret to financial success is? You've just joined us, recently joined us, you can just throw it in the chat box there. Yeah. Spend less than you make. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just, just in the interest of time, bring it forward. But the number one secret to financial success is knowing how much money you spend and where you spend it. Let me repeat that. The number one secret to financial success is knowing how much money you spend and where you spend it. The reason being is it's from this decision point in which all financial decisions are made. Are you going to take your money and use it to buy things like coffees and hamburgers and eating out and big fancy expensive cable packages, okay, using your money as a resource? Or do you want to use your money as a tool and use it to pay down that debt, get rid of that debt once and for all, maybe save for retirement or take that dream vacation? Pay yourself first. Yeah, that's a good one. We're going to talk about pay yourself first in a minute. Okay. Which side do you want your money going to? Do you want your money going to the resource side or towards those goals, those tools? Use it as a tool to accomplish those goals, right? The reason being is that money is finite, right? We only have a certain amount of it. So if you're spending it over here on these types of things, you don't have it to spend over here. Who would like to be sitting right there underneath that palm tree, in the shade of that palm tree right there? Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice, especially on these cooler days? Yes, please. Yeah. Me, I love sailing. So I'll come in on a sailboat. I'll drop anchor. I'll swim in. We can get some of those rum drinks, you know, the ones with the little umbrellas in them, those little tropical rum drinks or something like that. But yeah. But this is the bottom line, is that if you're spending your money on things that are just resources, on things that you really don't care about, you need to look at those and say, well, why am I spending my money there? But the big problem here is most people don't know where they're spending their money. So you need to figure out how much money am I spending and where am I spending it, so that you can make the decision to say, I don't want to spend it on these things anymore. Why am I spending money on this? I really want to go out and accomplish this. You need to figure out what this is. Okay. You need to have a purpose for your money. You have to have a place to put your money. As you remember the quote I started with earlier, right? If you don't have a plan for your money, somebody else does, right? How many times do we get bombarded with email messages and pop-up messages and advertisements and things and flyers and things trying to get us to spend our money on things we don't really care about, things that aren't our priority, right? How many people here, you can just use the little show your hand button there. How many people here know how much money they spend, plus or minus $200 every single month? How many people actually know how much money they spend, plus or minus $200 every single month right now? Anyone? Nope. Nope. Yes. Okay, good. Good. Well, hopefully you do, but this is the number that you really need to focus on. This is the number you need to figure out, because this is where you get the money to use as a tool to start going after those goals. So the 10% rule to financial success, somebody said it earlier, the most common one that's heard out there is the pay yourself first. Take 10% of your pay and put it away and save it. And over a long period of time, remember, it takes time. Mistake number one, you want it to happen, you give up too easily. It does take time, but put away 10% of your pay, every single pay, and eventually it grows. Well, here's my problem with this. Here's my big problem with the pay yourself first rule, is we've got a lot of people right now that are spending 100, 110, 120% of their income, right? And when you're spending that kind of amount of your income, if we start to take 10% of that income away, what's going to happen? You're going to be spending the amount of money you spend, the amount of debt that you go into is only going to increase, right? You're going to go from spending 110% to spending 120% of your income, and your debt's just going to get bigger and bigger. So my 10% rule to financial success is a little bit different. It kind of flips it upside down. And it basically says, let's find a way to reduce all our expenses by an average of 10%. Okay? Now, the reason why I say an average of 10% is because I don't want you to try and find a way to reduce it by like 50%. If you can do it, that's great. That's fine. That's your choice. But that might cause some pain. But you should be able to find a way to reduce all your expenses by an average of 10% without too much pain or discomfort. And that should help to motivate you to then go and find some more. So I don't want to create a huge amount of discomfort, because then you'll run away from it, remember? If we think it should happen overnight, and it takes time. So let's start with this. So can you reduce all your expenses by 10%? Can you? Probably not, right? If you go to your landlord and say, I want to pay 10% less in rent, what does your landlord say? They laugh at you, right? So this is the thing, is that some of your expenses you can't reduce at all. But there are going to be other expenses you should be able to reduce by, say, 20%, by 30%, by 60%, right? Dare I say, some expenses you're going to come across, you could probably reduce by 100%. Okay. When we take a look at our expenses and say, okay, here's my cable bill, and I'm never watching TV because now I'm streaming. Well, maybe you could get rid of cable and just have an internet package. Maybe, you could find a way to reduce your grocery bill by a few dollars. I've got some tips on that later if you want to hang out with me after. There's all these different things that we could look at to help reduce some of our expenses by maybe 15, 20, 30%, maybe some even more than that. How many subscriptions do you subscribe to? Online websites, Netflix accounts, Disney Plus, all these types of things. How many of these do you really need? Can you cancel some of those? And even if those just like $9, at $9, once you start adding it to another $9 and another $30 and another $80, it starts to add up. Let's take a look at how that adds up. So all we're talking about is eliminating an average 10% of your spending. That's it. Okay. So if you're spending on average $5,000 a month, some of you may be spending a lot more, some of you may be spending less. So I just kind of picked a middle number here. But if you're spending $5,000 a month, that's, if we can find a way to cut an average of 10% across the board, that's $500 a month. That's an extra $6,000 a year. If you had an extra $6,000 a year, what would you do with that money? What would you do with that money? You've got an extra $6,000 just handed to you. What are you going to do with it? Right? And I think if you start finding some of those savings, you can start accelerating some of the things you want to do. Some people are going to go on a holiday, right? Some people are going to pay down their debt. This is great. Okay. So this is some of the things that you want to be thinking about and ways that you can find this extra money. So I've got a little bit of homework for you. Okay. Here's your homework. One, if you joined us late, go back, watch the replay of the video from the beginning. This is all being recorded. It's going to be on the Avanti Women's website. You can go back and watch the whole piece from the beginning so you can follow along with everything we did. But let's just start here. Resolve right now to take ownership of your financial situation. Okay? To take ownership of your finances and say, no more excuses. This is something that's important to me. I'm going to do something about it. Next, I want you to set some realistic but hard goals for your finances. I want you to reach beyond your grasp, okay? Because time and time again, when you have one of those hard goals to go after, you can actually achieve it. And when you actually achieve it, wow, it's just unbelievable. I had a very good friend for the longest time, struggled with his finances, his cash flow, debt out his ears and dealing with payday loan services and things like this. And he managed to take ownership of it, and he managed to get his debt under control, cleaned up his credit, set aside some money and found the down payment to buy his first house. And he managed to do that. He set that hard goal. It took him 2 years. And he worked his butt off, but he did it. And he managed to get it done. Okay. So you can accomplish these harder goals as well. Okay. Know how much money you spend and where you spend it. Okay. Take some time to figure that out. I'm going to jump to a little example of how to go about doing this quickly and easily, so it doesn't seem like such a burden. But again, understand these things take time. You may need to commit 3, 4, 5 hours to figure out, okay, how much money am I spending and where am I spending it? And then making the decisions around, well, how do I not pay as much here and so that I have more to put towards those goals? All right. Last but not least, accept the fact that there is no magic wand to make this happen overnight. Okay. When you make this commitment to taking charge of taking ownership of your finances, understand that this could be a multi-year process to overcome your financial challenges, to put yourself back in the financial position that you need to be able to go out and accomplish those hard goals. Okay. Just accept that this is something that's going to take time. If you're looking for a quick fix, you won't be successful. Okay. Might as well go and buy another lottery ticket, and your odds of being successful and winning that are probably the same. All right. Maybe that's a little harsh. But I'm just trying to say, listen, this isn't something that you can just snap your fingers and everything's perfect and everything's working. It does take time. All right. So that's your homework for today. That's your homework. What I want to do is I'm just going to jump over and share another screen with you and show you how to figure out, okay, how much money am I spending and where am I spending it? Okay. So what I've done is I've downloaded some of my bank transactions and some of my credit card transactions, and I'll just bring these up so you can see these. And so I'm sure all of you are online and you do online banking. So go online and download your bank transactions and do it for at least 3 months. If you want to do it for a full year, that's even better because it's going to give you a much more accurate picture of how much money you're spending and where you're spending it. Okay, now this is for my household. My household's not going to be the same as yours, so these numbers won't be reflective of necessarily yours, but these are my actual numbers from my bank account. Okay, and so when you download your bank transactions into an Excel file, it kind of looks something like this. Hopefully everybody can see this. Hopefully everybody can see this screen here. Can anybody just let me know in the chat box that they're seeing the Excel file right now? Just confirm for me. Yes, good. And I blew it up a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see on the screen, but hopefully you can see it all right. So this is typically what it looks like. And you can see it's listed by date, and you can see all the different transactions and everything else. So to make your life easy when this comes in, you can see it's transactions. There's like 66, and this is basically 4 months of my bank transactions. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to select a column, and then I want you to go to the data field here, and then you got this little A to Z sorter here. Okay, and I just want you to click on that. And a little box pops up and it says, do you want to expand the selection? And you leave that selected and you say sort. Boom. Now, what it's just done is it's sorted all of my transactions by name. And what you can see that it's done is it's put everything of the same in one thing. So here's all my mortgage payments. Okay, so it makes it really quick and easy for me to categorize what I'm spending money on. And so then I just say that's my mortgage, and I click here, and then I just drag down, and look, mortgage is categorized. Let me just expand this a little bit to separate it from the numbers a little bit. Okay. And then I look here, here's some pre-authorized payments. So I'm not entirely sure what those are. So I'm going to have to take a look and figure out what those are. Here's Enbridge. So this is my gas/water bills, right? So here's my gas/water bills for the last, looks like 4 months. Okay. And it groups it together. Here's Girl Guides. So that's something my wife's Girl Guide leader. So she's got some expenses there. So not sure exactly how I'm going to classify that right now. Holy Land Christ Church. That looks like a donation to the church. And then I've got bank fees here. Right. And so this is what you're going to do is you're just going to go through and you're going to figure out, okay, how much money am I spending and where am I spending it? So here's electricity, right? And so you're going to go through and do this for all your expenses on your bank and on your credit card. So you can download all your credit card statements, you can download all your bank statements, and try and do this for at least a 3-month period. Okay, so these are all my credit card payments. So I'm not going to classify those because those are all different credit cards that we're paying. So that's where a lot of our transactions are. Now these are e-transfers. So I got to figure out what all those are. I can go in I can do that by logging into my bank account and then just clicking on those transactions to see who those went to, and then I can categorize them pretty easily. So you see here ATM withdrawals. So this is pocket money. Okay, so these are just cash withdrawals. Now we use cash to pay for all sorts of different things. So, you know, depending on what it is, but for the most part, most people, when they're withdrawing cash, that's pocket money. That's pocket money spending. And so this is what you figure out. Okay, so in 4 months, we had, let's see, you just highlight over top of them. And in the bottom here, you can see over 4 months, we withdrew $1,740 in cash. that we used for various things. Okay, so maybe that's paying for babysitters and that sort of thing, right? Maybe some groceries, maybe maybe a dinner out or something along those lines. But that's pocket money spending. And you can figure out how much you've spent. Now, what you want to do is you want to figure out how much you're spending on a monthly basis, okay, as an average. But once you identify this, you can then figure out, okay, why am I spending so much money on these things? The other thing that's interesting is when you do this, it pulls together all your statements. So if all of a sudden, so this is my car and home and auto insurance, right? So these are the two different policies that I've got. And so the thing I can do, though, what I caught one year is I found that all of a sudden my home insurance had jumped up by about $18 a month. And I wouldn't have caught that had I not organized it this way, where it pulled it all together, showing me each transaction from each month for the insurance. This is, this would be home insurance, I think, and this is probably auto insurance, right? And then every time I go to the next field, once you start typing it in, HO, I just hit enter. So it goes quickly and you can quickly identify. And then look at this, I'm almost done, right? There's property taxes and there's another credit card and that kind of stuff, right? So this is a way that you can go about quickly identifying how much money you're spending and where you're spending it. All right. So then you can click over, do the same thing for your credit card. So here's a credit card. Go into the description, highlight the description, and then sort by A to Z. Okay, expand the selection. And now let me just take out this. I don't need that column. And I'll just double click this to expand that. And away you go. So there's a couple of donations to charitable donations that we had on this credit card. There's Costco, there's Food Basics, so that's all like groceries, right? So it makes it quick and easy there's all my Food Basics, so that's groceries, right? It makes it quick and easy. Here's Petrocan, so there's gas, right? So it makes it quick and easy to pull these expenses together and identify how much money I'm spending and where I'm spending it. So it doesn't need to take a long time, but it does require a bit of effort. It does require a bit of patience and a bit of time. And you need to turn the distractions off and go ahead and do this. And just start with step one. Go online and download at least 3 months worth of bank transactions and credit card transactions from all your credit cards. And then just start putting them into one great big, huge, long spreadsheet and then sort. Okay, sort them out and start identifying and putting them into categories, then sort them by categories. Okay, once you put in all your categories beside each one, that's groceries, did I spell that right? Right, and I'm going to do that, right? So then I can sort by this column here, ignore this. I can sort by this column here, and then I can bring all my groceries together, all my property taxes together, all my home insurance together, and then I can really truly understand how much money I'm spending and where I'm spending. I hope that helps. I wanted to just share that with you. Okay. Sorry, let me just go back to a different share now. Let me go to a new share, go back to the presentation. So yeah. So it's 8:15 right now. I do want to leave some time if you do have some questions and answer some questions. I do have some tips that I'm going to share with you. I'm just going to hang out afterwards, but if you do need to drop off, completely understand. If you do have some personal finance questions that you don't want to share right now, that you might want to come back to later, just connect with me. You can connect with me here. The other thing you can do, let me just share in the screen here to everyone, is my email address is frank@wiginton.ca. If you have any personal finance questions, happy to answer those questions. Just send me an email directly to my personal email address there, and I'm happy to answer those questions and help you figure out those issues that you're struggling with your when it comes to your finances. Okay. So I'll just take a pause here, and if you do have some questions, drop them into the chat box or the Q&A box, and I'm happy to do that. If you have credit card debt, does that mean you shouldn't put money away until you're debt free? Well, that's a really great question. I'm kind of on two sides of that, because I really don't want people to be paying excess interest that they don't have to. So I'd rather you aggressively destroy your debt I have another whole workshop that I do on cash flow management and debt destruction. Maybe we can talk about hosting another one of these to go over that. But the idea is that you need to look at the reasons why you got into debt in the first place. If you're carrying credit debt, credit card debt especially, it pays crazy. You're paying crazy interest on that. And rather than putting money aside in a savings account that may be paying you, let's say 1% to 2% in interest, if you're in one of those fancy high interest savings accounts, I'd rather you get aggressive to pay down the debt. But I don't want you doing that if all you're going to end up doing is racking up the debt again. You need to first identify, how did I get into this situation in the first place? Has my behavior, has my outcome, has my situation changed that's going to prevent me from going back into bad debt if I do start paying it down? And then if it has, and you feel you've kind of gotten past that stage of the cause of having all that credit card debt, then I would say, okay, now you can look at, maybe aggressively paying down that debt while setting aside some extra money. But I think I'd rather have you just aggressively get at the debt and pay down the debt. I think that would be my first recommendation. There's if you go to my website for my book at howtoeatanelephant.ca. So let me just put that in. howtoeatanelephant.ca. So if you go to that website there, that's my book's website. You don't need a password. Well, you don't need anything to get in. You just need to create a user profile to go in. And then there's a tool there called the debt destruction calculator that you can go in and you can punch in all your debt numbers. And it will spit out a report for you on how to most effectively pay off your existing debt. Maybe we do another webinar talking about that. Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, in the meantime, if anybody wants to, they can jump to the website. It's all free. It's you just need to create a profile and go in and do it, and it's all secure and protected. So yeah, go to howtoeatanelephant.ca and you can use the debt destruction tool. It's one of many tools that go along with my book. Yeah. Yeah, if you need to reach out to me or if you want to connect with me, by all means, send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just let me know you were on the webinar just so I know where you're coming from. And yeah, if you do have some personal finance questions, you can always send me an email, frank@wiginton.ca, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you. If you need to be pointed towards, financial planners or an insurance person or an investment person, let me know that too. I know many people in the biz, so I can always point you in that direction as well.
Thank you very much, Frank. That was really wonderful. We appreciate you dedicating the hour with us. Very helpful, the homework, the tips. And I will be, as you said at the beginning there, I will be sharing the recording on our avantiwomen.com website and letting those that have registered that weren't able to attend get a chance to view that with a follow-up email. So again, super valuable information that you've shared with us. And thank you again.
My pleasure. My pleasure.